Good morning, good afternoon, and good evening wherever you are in the world. And welcome back to the OWLS Racing League for what is round 6 of Season 8, where tonight we head to the Circuit Gilles Villeneuve for the Canadian Grand Prix. We are going to be in for a spectacular race tonight. Of course, last week it was a unplanned break week due to the World Cup final, so the drivers had a bit more time to prepare, a bit more time to practice, and also give themselves a little bit of respite before we head into this second half of the season. That is right, it kickstarts here tonight, and we should be in for an absolute classic here at Canada. Of course, a place where lots of great racing can be held and overtakes can well and truly be done. Before we head into qualifying, drivers are just loading into that now. Let's quickly take you through the standings after last time out in Brazil. It's Yari who takes the lead of the championship by 5 points over Leopold and Ewan. 73 points for the two in second and third. Then it's reigning champion Puzan on 71. HP Cook, who's having a rather disappointing season for his standards, on 56. Then you've got Quiet Boy on 46. Will Smooth in 7th with 45. Then it's Joker, ST Sprint rounding out the top 10. Then it's Captain Foxy, Snoop Panda, Liam Bearder, FaZe Monkey, and Websy round out the top 15 in the standings. But drivers have now just, loaded in to qualifying. Of course, be interesting to see how they deal with the race ahead and how different is Canada on these generation of cars to what we used to see. Let's head now track side. See, first driver out on track seems to be one of the Haas cars. Is it going to be Richie? No, it's going to be MH, the first one out onto the road. Let's see what these drivers can deliver here tonight. Of course, battery going to be a big talking point, especially down that back straight, all the way into the Water Champion chicane, and then also the straight line mode as well. Of course, that extra area of straight line mode where DRS used to be, of course, down the back straight, down here as well, and down the main straight. But there's also the little other zone down here on the exit of this chicane. Open up the straight line mode and get a little bit of a burst heading up into the turn 11 hairpin. So as MH makes his way through the hairpin now, is putting over to the right hand side. That allows the V-carb through of Leopold actually. So let's go on board with the man second in the standings. Took the championship lead ever so briefly in Saudi Arabia. And then, sorry about that, ladies and gentlemen. And then after that was unfortunately toppled in the race, in the main feature race in Saudi, after taking it in the championship lead in the sprint. And Leopold has gone straight on at turn 1. Did an listen next invalidation through that final chicane. Unfortunately for him, that means he cannot go again on this attempt. I would presume MH, though, is pushing on in the Haas. First sector split. What are we seeing here from him? A 19.8. We now make our way through turn 7, 8. And then opening up the straight line mode as we make the run into the 9 and 10 chicane. Late onto the brakes, just as you get under the bridge. Make your way through nicely. Straight line mode activated as you make your way up into turn 11. Of course, the hairpin. Brakes down to third gear. Slowly pick that throttle back up. Try not to drop the rear on the exit of the corner. And then it will be straight line mode activated once more. Use as much of the battery as you can. This is really where you want to save the battery for this and the next straight. Then into the Water Champion chicane. Make sure you keep it clean and valid. And he's into the wall. It's still a valid lap, but that would have cost him dearly. And across the line, it's a 1 minute 11.594 to start off the session. And that is not going to be the way that MH would have wanted things to go. Yari goes to the top. The championship leader. Joker into second, Must into fourth. And we are currently on board with Fran Bernoulli as Will Smooth now goes to the top of the times. The first driver into the 1:09s, and he is already a total of more than 5 attempts, a total of 6 attempts. Clear. Fran Bernoulli invalidated on his way to the line through the chicane. He would have been 5th fastest. But what about the likes of your 2-time champ and the man who was in the championship battle last season, HB Cook, as he now makes his run down into the final chicane. Vinny goes up into 3rd fastest, a 1:10.4 from him. And now we see Cook through the Water Champion chicane, keeps it clean, keeps it valid. Richie goes to 5th. And now up to the line for Cook. What's it going to be? It's good enough for 3rd fastest, 1,000 quicker than Vinny. Very strong lap to start his session off with, and is Leopold on a lap. Yes, he is, as he comes up to the line. And it's quickest, a 1:09.948. Leopold takes the provisional pole spot away from Will Smooth on these first runs. But we're still waiting on Pooley. Of course, the man second in the standings, tied on points with the current provisional pole sitter. And what can he do? As he now makes the run down into that final chicane. Is it going to be enough to topple the V-Carb? Or is the McLaren just going to fall short for now? But of course, still a long way to go here in qualifying, using all the battery he can on the run to the line. Across the line he goes, and he just falls short by around 1/10.5. Pooley up into 3rd, and he slots in just behind Will Smooth and Leopold as well. But of course, your championship leader is Yari in the Audi, and then Leopold and Pooley both tied on points, 71 apiece. This is going to be a very, very interesting session. An interesting race for the championship as a whole, as we reach that halfway stage. So, of course, still waiting on laps from Fran Bernoulli, who might be pushing on. No, coming into the pit lane. We were waiting for, who was that who just came across the line? It was Alex Hayho. That has just come across the line. So Alex goes up into 13th. Agent, we've not seen. We've not seen Rory either. And actually, Puzant's not here tonight, so that's going to be detrimental to his championship chances with the non-attendance. So he will be missing out on some very crucial points. Joker moved himself up into 4th place. Actually, no, sorry, it wasn't Joker. That was going to be Vinny, I believe, moving himself further up. It was a 10.3 from the Alpine. But Rory, Ariel, Billy and Agent yet to set laps, yet to come out onto the road. Fran Bernoulli has come out onto the road, but he unfortunately invalidated his lap. And Pooley is on for another lap. He's gone for a 2nd attempt on the same set of tyres and is up by 2/10 in the middle sector. How much of that is track evolution and how much of that is just his car keeping with those tyres? And is he nursing them in nicely? So he heads his way through that final chicane, but picks up an invalidation. And unfortunately for him, it would have been enough for provisional pole. But he has to stay in 3rd place with that invalidation. He had the opportunity to at least set a benchmark, set a statement down. But was just not able to capitalise on it, as Will Smooth has just started his next attempt. Seems he's backed off already. Maybe just burning a lap's worth of fuel. Give himself that a little bit more speed. What about Leopold as he makes his way into that first corner? He is pushing on, so we're stay on board with the V-Carb. The current provisional pole man, can he find an improvement and make that benchmark higher? We would have saw Pooley to the very top of a 1:09.7. Can we see the V-Carb go quicker than that through the first sector split? Now up by 1/10 of a second in the first sector. Had to take a few stabs to get the car into turn 7 and 8. And then straight line mode active. Use the battery to make the run into 9 and 10 chicane. Down to 4th gear. Keeps it within track limits. Keeps it within play. Use some more battery. Open up the front and rear wings as you make your way to the second sector split, and he's up by 3/10 of a second. He's got Paulie's teammate just in front of him. That's Billy Wiz. He's on a push lap himself, so he doesn't have to get out of the way here for Leopold. And now makes the run all the way down into that final chicane. Leaves enough battery for a good burst out of the World of Champions. Nicely done through there. A little bit of a squirrely exit, but up to the line we go. Is it enough for an improvement? It is by half a second. A 1 minute 9.4. A spectacular lap time there from the V-Car to put himself even further onto provisional pole and to raise that benchmark even higher. He's asked everybody else, I can jump this high. How high can you jump in the remainder of this session? And it's a 1 minute 9.9 for Will Smooth, where he's up by nearly 2/10 of a second in the first sector. Are we going to see a same rate of improvement here as Fran Bernoulli goes up to second place in the Cadillac, and he is on a 9.7. So for Will, as he now makes his way out of turn 10, middle sector split, this is where we saw Leopold up by 3/10. We see Will Smooth up by 3/10 as well. The track certainly improving. Drivers finding grip, finding time everywhere they go. How close though will the Ferrari be to that V-Carb, and will he be able to go in front of Leopold as he now makes his way through the bus stop chicane, World Champions chicane, and up to the line. Lost time in that final sector. And unfortunately for Will Smooth, it's a 1 minute 9.7. What was looking like a good improvement, unfortunately for him, did not turn out to be so. And here we see Joker coming up to the line. Are we going to see an improvement from the Mercedes? Yes, we are. Up to 4th place, just missing out on the 1 minute 9s. The 1 minute 10.0, though, a very strong lap time. A sprint improved as well, up into 5th place. What about the likes of Vinny and Cook? Cook just seems to have backed off to go again. Vinny's up by just under 1/10.5. In the middle sector. Now into the World Championship chicane. Of course, currently sits 8th fastest, so 10.3. Can he find enough time to maybe go into the top 5 across the line? Does improve, but invalidated through the final chicane, and that brings an end to any opportunity of an improvement. MKD goes into 9th. HB Cook really needs a time on the board, but he's only up by a 10th in the middle sector. It's not that much of an improvement, and it'll only be enough to put him in front of Richie. Struggling once again. It seems like these new regulations have not done any world of good for HB Cook. Struggling to adjust, struggling to adapt. And through the final chicane, very tentative, very smooth, but it just does not seem quick. And has he lost time in the final sector? Yes, he has, and he only improved by 0.5 of a second. And unfortunately there for Cook, it's seeming like he is struggling big time here as Fran Bernoulli's up by an extra 0.5 of a second in the middle sector. Across the line we go. It's provisional pole for the Cadillac. 4/10 found, a 1 minute 9.3 from Fran Bernoulli, and he now goes to the very top. And that is a spectacular lap from the Cadillac driver, but he's only just in front of Leopold, who still can come out and go again. Paulie, he did not improve on that last lap, and he's pushing on now, 6 up in the first sector. Of course, we know he's at least got a 0.7 in the bag. All wide through 10, just seeming to be struggling with some front end rotation here. Is the McLaren for some reason in this lap of qualifying, and you can just see the frustrations there. This is definitely him coming back into the pit lane, backing off, coming in. Very, very disappointing run there for Paulie. As you see Ariel now making his way down into the Water Champion chicane. And up to the line for Ariel. And it's 12th fastest, a 10.5 from the Mercedes driver. And now the only driver we are waiting for is Agent. See what lap he can deliver in the Scuderia Ferrari. His teammate has just come out onto the road. Same with Sprint as well. But Will has got a lot of free air in front of him. Has he timed it right low? Will he catch traffic at the end of his lap? That is going to be the big question as Agent now into the final chicane. Nice and easy through there, just to make sure he doesn't pick up an invalidation and gets the time on the board. And it's going to be slowest of all, a 1 minute 13.5 from Agent. Fortunate there from him. As Will just backing off, getting ready to go again. Trying to save as much of the tyre as he can while burning as much fuel as he can at the same time. Bernoulli on an outlap, Joker on an outlap, Will Smooth of course just slowly trundling round. Championship leader Yari is currently in 5th place. 6th place, sorry, but let's go on board. Now with Sprint, he pushing on a lap. Does not seem so, just doing like what Will Smooth is doing. And just saving the tyres while trying to burn some fuel. Yari, though, into the first couple of corners. This definitely seems like a push up, and very aggressively flicking his way through turn 2. And now through 3, 4, 5, 6, and into the 7 and 8 right and left hand. He's backed off as well. Go again in a few moments' time as Will Smooth once again. Maybe making a mistake there through turn 1. Does have enough time to back off, of course. But he's seeming to really be struggling at the moment. Or is this all tactical? Paulie really needs to come out, and he has made it out onto the track in time. What about Fran Bernoulli, though, through the first sector? Is this a push lap from the Cadillac? Are we finally seeing someone at the front make an attempt? No, we are not. We'll have to wait for another driver to have a stab at a push lap. Sprint just waiting once again. What about Joker? Actually, Joker came across the line on the push lap and went to 3rd fastest, a 1 minute 9.6 from the Mercedes. Enough for the second row of the grid, but of course time for everybody else still to respond. Leopold is not pushing. Dari is now pushing, I believe, as he makes his way through the chicane. What are we looking at in the first sector split? Yes, he is pushing up by 8 hundredths in the first sector. This at the moment would promote him up into that top 5. Of course, your championship leader after last time out in Brazil. That was a very chaotic race, that Brazilian Grand Prix. But here we are, there we are, making his way into the second sector. Only 7 hundredths up, so lost time in the middle part of the lap. And will now open that straight line mode, use everything he can, try gain as much slipstream off his competitors as he possibly can as well, as he makes the run into the final chicane. Are we going to see Yari break into the top 5 or even higher? Depends how scrappy his final sector was. Across the line we go with the Audi, and he lost even more time, but it is enough for 5th fastest. Will Smooth has made a mistake. That's his session over and done with. He will not find an improvement. Leopold pushing on. Fran Bernoulli is down in the middle sector by 0.2 of a second, so it's not looking like he's going to make too much of an impact. Paulie's only up by 0.2 in the middle part of the lap. We'll need a monstrous final sector if he wants to try and snatch pole position away. Cook, only 11th fastest, not able to find an improvement. Richie is, as he made his way to the line. And here comes Paulie now through the final chicane Are we going to see a big enough improvement? Is he going to keep it clean? Yes, he is. Fran Bernoulli does not improve. Here comes Paulie to the line. Is it enough to snatch something away? No, but it's enough for third place on the grid. Leopold is not improving. Joker through the middle sector. We couldn't see the split time there. What about sprint? It looks like he's pushing on, but still potentially just struggling for time. But your man second in the championship. Leopold now looking to try and take provisional pole away from Fran Bernoulli. Clobbers the wall in the exit of the World Champion chicane. Has he done enough to find an improvement across the line? No, he has not, but did find time in that final sector. Joker improves, but not by enough to improve position. Sprint stays in 7th. Vinny, is he pushing on a lap? No, he's not. Across the line he comes. But it is going to be Fran Bernoulli who takes pole position here in Canada. A spectacular lap at the midpoint of the session to snatch things away from Leopold. And the two drivers tied on points in the championship for second place. Line up second and third on the grid, Leopold and Ewan. And then in 6th place is where you find your championship leader. But that was a very good qualifying session. And one that potentially could have some big impacts on the championship standings. Of course, no Puzant tonight. Does also mean he'll lose out. Could see a different champion come the end of this season. Still a long old way to go. But your order is as follows. It's Fran Bernoulli on pole, followed by Leopold in second. Then Paulie, Joker, Will Smooth, Yari, Sprint, Vinny, MKD and Richie round up the top 10. Disappointing session for Cook as he lines up in 11th. Ariel, MH, BJ Riley, Billy Wiz, Alex, the A-Team, Muse, Agent and Rory round out your grid for this evening. Now, wait for the green flag. Expecting it to be a one-stop strategy, medium hard. Be a rather interesting race ahead, especially with this battery management. Not many places to really manage a battery here at Canada once you get into that second and final sector. Of course, that final sector is mainly just straight lines, so you've got to really save through the first part of the lap. But once you get to the back end of the circuit, it becomes ever more of a challenge. But for Leopold on the front row of the grid, he's doing everything he can. Try and take that championship lead away from Yari, but he's got Ewan right behind him. But he's also got Fran Bernoulli in the Cadillac just in front, just there waiting to take a race victory. He may not be in the championship fight. Certainly is fighting own pride and the own reward. And here we are then for the 5 red lights. It's Bernoulli and Leopold on the front row. 5 red lights are on and we're underway here in Canada. It's a good start from the V-Carb as he makes his way into P1 already off the line. But he goes deep into the first corner, goes into the side of Fran Bernoulli, who tried to swing it around the outside, but Leopold cut him straight off. And now Ewan is under pressure from Will Smooth just behind him as we make our way through turns 3 and 4. It's the V-Carb and Leopold. Then it is Fran Bernoulli. Then Paulie, Joker going side by side with Will Smooth. He gets the position away from the Ferrari, who got forced wide by the McLaren at turn 4. It's Sprint, Vinny, MKD, Yari, who's dropped down to 9th. Make that 10th now as HB Cook is looking to the inside into turn 9. Is he going to be able to get the position? No, he is not. So Yari does stay in 9th place after all. But for Leopold, a very, very controversial start there. Came back onto the circuit, clobbered into the side of the Cadillac. And it all now bunches up into the hairpin. Make our way through the right-hander and back out down the road. Will Smooth is already trying to make an attack onto Joker to reclaim that 4th place. And at the front of the field, it looks like Ewan is going to go for a move here on to Fran Bernoulli. No, just is not close enough to get that done. Now we make our way off the first lap with Leopold in the lead. He sets the fastest lap, of course, being the first driver around the circuit. V-Carb now will try and settle into a rhythm. It seems like Fran Bernoulli was on the hards. That maybe explains why the V-Carb was so much better off the line than the Cadillac. Talking about tyres, let's bring them up now. See exactly what we are dealing with here this afternoon. And it is hard tyres for Fran Bernoulli. Along with MH, the A-Team, Agent, BJ Riley and Rory. And something's happened to Rory. He's now at the back of the field. 20 seconds down. Unfortunately for him, I think this could be race over already. Missing part of his front wing as well, as HB Cook has been able to get past Yari. Billy Wiz has made his way up into 12th. He's just passed MH. And just in front of these two, it's Will Smooth and Joker now battling as they make their way into the final chicane. And it is going to be Will Smooth who comes out on top there. So he's back up into 4th place. Next one will be Ewan, as he heads into the first couple of corners. Now the drivers just focus up, dial in. Right. To the first pit stop window. See if it's a 1 or 2 stop strategy. By when the drivers do come into pits. I'm expecting it to be that 1 stop strategy. Hard, medium, medium, hard. And how well will Fran Bernoulli do to keep this strategy alive and to make it work? Because, of course, he will go longer than these medium runners. He will have fresher tyres. He gets off those hards onto a set of the mediums for that final stint. But he is keeping at the moment with Leopold very, very nicely indeed as we make the run into the final chicane once again. Of course, 35 laps here this evening. There's a yellow flag a little bit further back. Unsure who that is for. MH picks up 3 seconds. A lot of drivers already picking up 3-second time penalties. That's a big issue here at Canada. It is those 3-second time penalties. Those slight instances where you just go a little bit off the road or maybe just take too much of the apex. It is certainly a circuit where we can see a lot of penalties flow through, especially at that bus stop chicane. Like threading the eye of a needle. And you've got to put it off flawlessly every single lap. Not pick up those penalties. Flag in the final sector once again. That's because Rory has retired from the session. Fortunately, it seems like he had a glitch with his car where he stayed at 180 miles an hour, and that did not help him at all. And he decided to come into the pits, which is unfortunate to see for Rory, but when issues do plague you, sometimes come into pits. Fran Bernoulli has made the move further up on Leopold. He has made that move stick, and Richie has made a mistake in the process as well. He's now falling down the field. It looks like a spin outside of turn 10. And he's now dropped down to 18th place and really out of contention for now, but of course he does have that big train in front of him, but that only goes up to 11th place, the A team, before a 4.5 second gap between 11th and the top 10. Here comes Will Smooth onto Ewan, just is not able to get the move done. Rory has now left the session. Ariel is into the pit lane. And now we're going to see Will Smooth get a move done onto Ewan, who's nearly out of a second. Of course, once you fall out of a second, you lose that overtake mode, that extra energy you can use and you can save. Over the back of the McLaren, is he going to look for a move into the hairpin? No, he's not, but it is seeming like a matter of if, not when. When, not if, sorry. Ferrari is going to be able to get by on the McLaren. Especially with now Ewan losing that 1 second. He's just gone through the detection point for the overtake mode as well. So he's going to have little opportunities, little battery to fight his way further up. Catch up to the cars ahead again and reconnect the train. Billy Wiz is retired in the pit lane. I'm surprised why he is unfortunately retired in the pit lanes. He was seeming to have a very decent race, at least at the start of this one. HB Cook getting closer to the back of Vinny. Move, is he going to be able to use that extra battery at all? Move done. Rambanudi, he's holding on to that lead quite nicely over Leopold. Went for that move and he got it done. Not been threatened since, but he has just picked up a 3-second time penalty. And now here comes Will Smooth onto Ewan. And as he finally got that move done, he has got it done. But can Ewan fight back? He certainly can, as they make the run into the first couple of corners. Over the start-finish line will go. It's a McLaren on the inside. It's a Ferrari on the outside. And Ewan gets that place back. Snatches it back away from the Ferrari, who was ahead though by the time they reached the detection zone, because of course Will went for the move and it's just on the entrance to that chicane. Seems, I believe, that Ewan might have got it. Richie is now retired from the session. That's our third retirement of this race. He had that spin, of course, coming out of turn 10, and he is called it a day after only 7 laps in this one. Will, is he going to find a way to fight back? Is he going to find a way back through? See the difference in lifting and coasting. Save the battery between the two drivers. And is this an opportunity once more for the Ferrari? We'll stay on board. We tuck into the slipstream. We lose the battery and move to the right-hand side. And this time he's able to get the move done before we even hit the brakes. And this should be a lot easier to hold on to the position, as Joker was able to get past, Sprint was able to get past on Joker, and Cook is able to get past on MKD. A very good drive so far from Cook, as we see MKD actually dive into the pit lane after only 7 laps on those medium compounded tyres. Is a 2-stop potentially the one that he's going to go for? And for Leopold and Frambanulli, all just squabbling behind them, allowed them to build a 2-second gap in the race lead. As Yari's now able to get past on to Vinny's up into 8th place, according to your championship leader. Needs to find a few more places, needs to get to the back of the likes of Joker and Sprint, but he's already around about 5 seconds behind. At the moment, it looks like Leopold will take the championship lead, followed by Ewan. Yari in third as Joker comes into the pit lane. But only 9 laps on his mediums. It certainly seems like for some drivers, the 2-stop might be the way to go. Hold, keep it nicely with Fran Bernoulli. Tyres will be a bit better at this stage. Engine would have swung into the hard tyres' favour. Leopold's actually now dropped out of a second from Fran Bernoulli. So, this could maybe mean that the Cadillac is able to push on. Break that 1 second margin. But no, Leopold has got straight back in it on the exit of the hairpin. Maybe a poor run from Bernoulli. So for Leopold, he's doing everything he can. Of course, his main focus at this stage will be championship. Of course, yes, it is only the halfway stage of the season, but when you're in a position like he is, we're certainly just going to keep thinking championship, championship, championship. And just about scoring points now. It's not about the race victories, it's about being consistent, scoring some points. Now out of that second once again, but can he find his way back through it? He seems very strong into the hairpin. Does the V-carb. Get a nice run out of here. He certainly could get back within that 1 second window, but no, just cannot. But I wouldn't be surprised if we see a lot more of these medium runners, come into the pit lane at the end of this or the next lap. Cover off some undercuts. And potentially just move on to a 2 strategy, but everyone so far seeming to stay out. Now Cook is into the pit lane. Going to a set of the hard compounder tyres. We'll see where he comes out. Joker is just behind BJ Riley, and he might be going for a move here. He is going for a move to the inside. Goes Joker. BJ Riley all the way off the road. Nearly spinning as well. That's disastrous there for BJ Riley. So I think that's the A team has gone around. No, that's Yari. Yari has gone round on the exit of turn 3, I believe. I think has somehow kept his front wing intact, but has gone round, and your championship leader nearly just cost himself a whole abundance of positions, a new front wing, and potentially could have just seen himself drop completely out of the points, but very, very lucky to keep that car intact. But that certainly would have been the heart in the mouth moment, and his main focus would have just been keep it out of the wall. Will Smooth is catching up to the back of Leopold. He's now 1.4 seconds behind. Of course, that gap was 2 seconds, it seems like. The man second in the standings, second in this race, is starting to struggle with the tyre deck. Of course, those cars start to slide around a lot more. As we've seen Yari into the pit lane, we've seen Sprint into the pit lane, and BJ Riley as well. Sprint has come out right into the midst of the traffic. Joker is now leading. Look at the run he's got here on the A-team. He's going to send a lunge here into turn 7. Just going to be sitting behind. And Will Smooth is now within the 1 second. It's their sprint to the inside of the A-team and gets the move done into turn 9. But the A-Team is fighting back into the hairpin. He's not going to take this one line down. He might also go for a move here onto MH. He has. And he might have been able to get the move done 2 for 1 on old tyres as well. This is certainly shaping up to be a very good move from the Audi driver. But unfortunately, just isn't able to get the exit. And Sprint takes the position away as MH actually taps to wall heading down the straight. And actually, that was the A-Team letting MKD through as well. I didn't want to lose too much time because MK has come into the pit lane. That was very confusing. There is into the pit lane. In comes Ariel. Actually, no. Ariel spins on the exit of the World Champion chicane. Picks up some front wing damage. But unfortunately there for the Mercedes. Drop through the field as Sprint now picks up a 3-second time penalty. That's going to be costly to his race. At the front of the field, it's 3 seconds for Bernoulli. Leopold is under all sorts of pressure here from Will Smooth, who looks to the inside. Now we'll try to get the run. We've seen this before here from Will. Saw it against Ewan. And are we going to see it again on Leopold? No, he's just going to sit behind and Leopold stays out along with Will. Does Ewan stay out? Yes, he does. But this is an opportunity now for the Ferrari, who saved the battery, who's got a slingshot exit out of that final corner. Just can't brake late enough as Leopold sliding all across the road, and there's contact. Is that front wing damage for the Ferrari? And if it is, it will be very costly. But no, the front wing still remains intact. Oh, and that's Ewan! Ewan rounding into the wall on the exit of turn 3. The McLaren somehow doesn't pick up any front wing damage. But just like we saw happen with Yari, pushing too aggressively out of turn 3. And spins round and goes straight into the wall. Alex now picks up 3 seconds, and Leopold has been overtaken here by Will, and actually Will gives the back, it seems. Leopold comes into the pit lane. He pulls the trigger after 15 laps on those mediums, nearing half race distance. He elects to come into the pits. Now Leopold comes out just in front of Sprint, behind Joker's yellow flag in the final sector. This time it looks like for Vinny, who has gone round and done the exact same thing as Ariel. And unfortunately, that's front wing damage now for the Alpine. Cut across at turn 1, pick up 10 seconds, and I'm expecting that to be the end of his race, unfortunately. So for Will Smooth, does he come into the pit lane now as BJ Riley picks up time penalty? Agent now retires from the race as well. And Will Smooth does come into the pits. Where does he come out? In relation. To, of course, Leopold. Made his way through the first couple of corners. Will Smooth comes out just in front of Cook, behind MKD and Sprint. He's got a little bit of work to do if he wants to get back to the V-car. Maybe just stayed out 1 lap too long. Ewan now picks up a 3-second time penalty. It gets bad to worse for him. A few drivers now remaining without penalty. As Leopold now sets the fastest lap of the race on those fresh tyres. Of course, he's going to be racing with Fran Bernoulli when he decides to come in for a set of the mediums. We've seen drivers do 15 to 16 laps on the mediums. We're expecting Bernoulli in a couple of laps' time. Leopold is being held up slightly by Joker, who's, of course, on 6-lap older tyres. Are we going to see the move get done here by Leopold? Making the run down into the chicane. Ahead. Now his full commitment will be on Fran Bernoulli, who of course does have that time penalty. So it does mean that Leopold, a little bit of time in hand to play with. Actually have a look at the penalties that these drivers do have at this stage of the race. So it's 3 seconds for the likes of Fran Bernoulli, Sprint, Will, Ewan, and the A team. 6 for both BJ Riley and MH, and 9 for Alex and Must. The fourth penalties. Very, very up around here. Leopold's already brought that gap down to 13 seconds. Really is flying at the moment, is Leopold. He's already dropped Joker as well by 2.2. Got a lot of pace on those fresh hards right now. And he is certainly driving like a championship contender. Does he take the championship lead with a race win today? Alex now retires in the pit lane, and Leopold's brought it down by another 2 seconds. Actually, no, it's not in the pit lane, sorry. He's retired on the circuit, and that's a virtual safety car. That might have just came at the right time for your race leader, Fran Bernoulli. Is he going to come into the pit lane? Oh, we go back to green. We go back to green just as he was making his way to the pits. I think he might have been coming in this lap anyway. But that would have certainly gave him a brilliant opportunity of taking this race victory if it stayed out even just a few seconds longer. Leopold goes through. There's Joker's sprint, followed by Will. And Bernoulli beat them out. Championship leader Yari, his day goes from bad to worse as he picks up a 3-second time penalty. Here comes Fran Bernoulli. No, he's behind Will Smooth. Behind Will's sprint and Joker. Boys, we've got a little bit of a kerfuffle a little bit further up. As you can see, it's sprint round the outside of Joker. We've got this perfectly here with Fran Bernoulli's on board. It was sprint round the outside of Joker, a spectacular move at the hairpin. And now here comes Will Smooth as he makes his way to the inside into the final chicane. Is he going to be able to pull this one off? Yes, he is. And now, of course, Fran Bernoulli needs to follow through. But Joker's sliding and he's into the wall. Joker spins into the wall and the Mercedes man has unfortunately dropped down to 6th place and has lost a piece of his front wing, was tagged by Fran Bernoulli mid-chicane. It was just a difference in grip and overspeed. Cost Joker an opportunity of at least a top 5 finish. And Leopold has also picked up a 3-second time penalty, so the advantage he had over Fran Bernoulli is now gone. And we are going to see the Cadillac driver really start push now. And look at these three now following each other through. Will's been able to get past sprint. Fran Bernoulli needs to try something to get by onto sprint as well. He needs to maximise these mediums. He needs to capitalise on the opportunity he now has at hand with the extra grip he will have. Can't find a way yet. And he looks to the inside into turn 7 and he gets the move done. Fran Bernoulli up into 3rd place. And now hunting down Will Smooth in front. I think caught sprint napping. I don't think sprint would have fought that one too hard anyway, just due to the tyre difference. Now up into 3rd place, hunting down Will. 6 tenths is the gap between them. Bernoulli had the overtake mode available. Sprint picks another 3-second time penalty. Joker's down to 6th. He's got Cook over the back of him, but we're going to quickly stay with this battle. Will and Bernoulli. Here we see Bernoulli get closer up into the hairpin. Yeah, and now will, of course, have straight line mode. Use the boost. Use the button as he looks to the inside. Will does defend it. There's some slight contact between the pair of Ferrari all the way over the curbs. And Bernoulli might just be able to get in front, but will not have this one lying down. There's more contact down the straight. The Cadillac nearly set into a spin, but he's able to be braver. And later on, the brakes with that added grip, that added purchase, and he's through into second place. And it's a 6.5 second gap. He now needs to close down to Leopold in front. And just behind him, we've got Sprint having to defend here from Ewan, as Cook was able to get past on Joker as well. Point 1 is now that gap. It is closing already between Bernoulli and Leopold. Around about half a second on this lap. And that was with a scuffle on, of course, the opening part of the lap as well. So this is his first clean attempt. Joker's into the pit lane for a new front wing, of course. Now 5.6. He's really closing, but he's also bringing Will along with him. We could still have 3 for the race lead here, ladies and gentlemen, come the end of this race. Gap down by another half a second. Thing is, it's all well and good Bernoulli catching up now. Will he have the tyres by the time he needs them, by the time he gets close? As Ewan is able to make his way through onto Sprint, and he's up into 4th place in that McLaren. May not have an opportunity as it stands to take that championship lead away. He certainly a good job at minimising the deficit. He will lose to Leopold, who is struggling. It seems he's struggling on those tyres. Bernoulli's nearly dropped Will Smooth, but he's still just about hanging in there. Is the Williams driver using that battery where he can. But you do not want to miss this one, ladies and gentlemen. This ending could very well and truly be a classic here in the OWLS Racing League. 4.5 seconds is now the gap. Let's see, come the end of this, that what the gap is, how much time Leopold is losing to Bernoulli per lap. Of course, those mediums are starting to degrade. They're starting to wear out. I just don't see at the moment Fran Bernoulli catching up enough. Especially with the fact now the progress has stagnated. Good exit out of turn 10. Now bring up, of course, the lap data. On board with Leopold as he now makes his way into that final chicane. What is his lap as he comes across the line? Or straight line mode activated, boost being used. 1 minute 12.8 is the lap for Leopold, and it's 2 tenths slower for Fran Bernoulli, a 13.0, so it seems maybe the tide has shifted. And that, we may well and truly see Leopold hold on to this one and maybe even extend that race lead. Will Smooth behind has got 6 seconds of penalty, so, excuse me, he won't be able to get the opportunity to really attack Fran Bernoulli in front for a meaningful position. And now Fran Bernoulli is under a lot of pressure from Will Smooth. He may not be able to overtake him for a position, but he might be able to force him into a mistake that gives him the opportunity. Take that position away, and that gap is now still extending at the front of the field. Well, now really starting to apply that pressure. DJ Riley is now, of course, retired from the session. Another retirement. We're down to 12. Not close enough for the lunges as we've got 3 laps to go here in Canada. Will has been able to get his way through on Fran Bernoulli. So, Will has taken the position, but of course with that 6 seconds of time penalties compared to Bernoulli's 3, will still lose that position for now. Of course, can he build that gap? Can he extend it? Or can a mistake be made from Fran Bernoulli? There are 2 laps to go now. here in Montreal. Final lap is about to get underway. Cook is close to Yari. Of course, the championship leader will fall down to 7th place as Cook is the only driver in this field to not pick up a time penalty. So that's something he could still be proud about after a very disappointing evening. And now heading down the back straight at the front of the field. It is going to be how fine style to take the championship lead. When some of your championship rivals aren't here, when the others crumble, Leopold takes the race victory. And with it, the championship lead here in Montreal. A very deserving win as Will Smooth moves himself up into 3rd. And actually, Leopold has been jumped by Fran Bernoulli. Has he got a penalty on the final lap? We did not see that show up. But Leopold picks up another penalty. And that means Fran Bernoulli is your race winner after all. So Fran Bernoulli has won this race on penalties. And in the most dramatic circumstances possible, it's still going to be the championship lead. 4, of course. Leopold, but it does mean that Fran Bernoulli takes the race victory. It was a 10-second penalty for Leopold. Unsure where he got that. Then it's Will Smooth in 3rd. Paulie, Sprint, Cook, Yari, MKD, Joker, and MH round out the field. Then it's A-Team, Muse, BJ Riley, Alex, Vinny, Agent, Ariel, Richie, Billy Wiz, and Rory round out your evening's finishers. Well, non-finishers and this evening's field. But disaster there for Leopold as he picks up a 10-second time penalty on the final few laps. That is certainly a shock. I'm going to see exactly what it was for if I can before the timer runs out. And tell you exactly why we got it. Ah, no, I can't. But unfortunately, there for Leopold, that means he takes the championship lead, but it's not the race win to go with it. He just cannot seem to be able to get the race wins when he needs them. But he certainly still does take that championship lead. Only just over the likes of Paulie and Yari as well. Does outscore Yari by enough. But it's going to be a very, very close season ahead. Driver of the day, I'm going to give it to Fran Bernoulli. Yes, he won the race thanks to the penalties, but I think he did an all-round very, very solid evening with the qualifying as well. So that's my driver of the day. And let's take you through the calendar just before we head off. Of course, we're here at Montreal. We've hit that halfway point of the season. We head to Mexico next week for a trip to Baku for our second and only other sprint of the season before Bahrain, Shanghai, Miami and Suzuka now end off in September. That date, it will be the 6th of September. That will finish. But well done to Fran Bernoulli. Well done to Leopold on taking the championship lead as well. Very well deserved indeed. But that is going to be all, ladies and gentlemen. We shall see you next time out for a trip to Mexico, where we get to see these drivers in action once again, and we see these cars down that really long main straight. We'll have to see what will happen. Could we see another shift in the championship, or will Leopold extend that championship lead? All will be revealed next week. Stay safe, stay well. Join us at 8 PM UK time, 9 PM European time, for what should be a dramatic race, at Mexico. But stay safe, stay well. Thank you for watching, and goodbye.